Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning: The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
April 1917, 100 years ago, President Woodrow Wilson addressed a joint session of Congress to request a declaration of war against Germany. Today marks the 100th anniversary of the United States entering that disastrous war where 8.5 million men were killed, 37 million were casualties, all because of egos, the egos of the leaders of the great powers. 100 years ago, history seems to be repeating itself. I am a conservative peacenik. Do you want war with Russia? All of you idiots, all of you fools who are pounding the war drums. I am a conservative peacenik. All day long we're talking about the nuclear option. Nuclear option, we hear. Nuclear option, nuclear option. As if there is no real nuclear option. Well, today the Congress decided to go nuclear. The so-called nuclear option to blow up the filibuster for a straight up or down vote on Supreme Court nominee Gorsuch. Now, even though Harry Reid was first to use the nuclear option in 2013 on lower court judges, and Democrats and the media were all for it, and we have the sound bites of Rachel Maddow, Chris Matthews, Chris Hayes, Lawrence O'Donnell, even the shameful Al Sharpton was screaming, yeah, that's a good thing. Good thing to use the nuclear option and the filibuster. We have their sound bites. We're going to embarrass them. We're going to drag them through the mud and show you who they really are today. Even though Reid and the Democrat operatives in the media cheered it then, they're against it now. They're acting as though the world is coming to an end. But what they're ignoring is a possibility of the world actually coming to an end. Democrats have been poking the Russian bear since Trump won the election. The constant accusations of them fixing our election is not making them any friendlier towards us. And why are the Democrats pushing war with Russia? Because Trump said he could work with them, but it didn't stop there. People in Trump's own sphere are now moving him towards the beating of the war drums. Dems and the establishment GOP both handcuffed loyal Trump advisors like Jeff Sessions and now Devin Nunes to take themselves out of any investigations of the so-called Russia conspiracy. Steve Bannon, a close advisor, was stepped down from his NSC role. And what happened the very same day that he stepped down? War drums, war drums, war drums. It seems the generals want war with Russia. It's the generals who will gain great power if we have war with Russia. It's the generals who led the world into World War I, which, as I said, caused 37 million casualties. It was the frail egos of the warmongers in the military-industrial complex all over again. It seems to me Steve Bannon, a true conservative, no question about it, was fighting with the generals to prevent this insanity of declaring war with Russia. The minute Steve Bannon was pushed aside, the generals took control. The very next second, Trump started saying Assad has to go. A few minutes ago, Secretary of State Tillerson gave a speech in Palm Beach where the president of China just arrived, Premier Xi, where he said Assad must go. A day after Bannon is gone, the generals, the Secretary of State, are suddenly banging the war drums. Mr. President, who is whispering in your ear? Who could have made you make this dramatic turnabout in just a few days? I believe it's the generals. Trump has given generals great power in his administration, and they're now using it to their advantage just as they did in World War I. Like Mr. Trump, Woodrow Wilson. You know Woodrow Wilson? Woodrow Wilson ran on an America First platform. He was a populist. He was also an anti-war activist. Did you know that Wilson was elected because he kept us out of the war in Europe? But someone got to Woodrow Wilson also. They turned him to declare that, quote, neutrality was no longer feasible or desirable. And after World War I, when Wilson tried to rally the world for a lasting peace and to form the League of Nations, our Congress wanted no part of it. And the deal that was reached to secure the peace in Europe became a punishment to the losers. And where did that lead? It led to the humiliation of Germany. What did that lead to? An even greater conflict where millions more died in World War II. And what happened in that body yesterday, the United Nations? Nikki Haley, Trump's pick for UN ambassador, laid the law down to Russia about the attacks in Syria, saying their acts were, well, war crimes, basically, accusing Syria for their complicity in the deaths of children. Do we even know who dropped the gas canisters? Was there an investigation to prove definitively that it was, in fact, the Syrian Air Force that dropped the gas canisters? How do we not know that it's not a game being played again, where the so-called Syrian rebels put in by the CIA, the deep state, are launching gas attacks on the Syrian innocents in order to stir a bigger war? How do we not know? Maybe Steve Bannon was the one fighting with the generals, the only one standing against war, and now he's gone. It's the generals, I will repeat, who rushed world powers into World War I, and it's happening again in front of our eyes. You see the generals' powers increase with war, and they shouldn't want war. The generals should want peace. During the campaign, President Trump came on the air on the Savage Nation on this program, and he said that if he was elected, he would talk to Russia, to Putin, even before he took office. I like that a lot. That's why I supported him. That's what making peace is all about. But the evil, sick, degenerate Democrats have turned making peace with Russia into a crime, and they want to impeach him over it. The generals have gotten to Trump and turned him from peace with Russia. And the people standing in the way of war, maybe Steve Bannon was the only one, were thrown out of the White House, out of the Inner Council. This beating of the war drums has to stop, Mr. President, and it has to stop now. Trump considering military retaliation against Syria. We don't know if Syria dropped the bombs. But a very wise man emailed me before the show, and I said, what do you think is going to happen? The wise man said, well, to prove that he's anti-Russia, he's going to fall for it. He voted for Trump, by the way. The idiot fake conservatives, the neocon ventriloquists, will say it proves that Trump is strong and he's able to stand up to Putin. He said Assad is finished. ISIS will take over Syria. Now, there are several other elements of this story, many, many other elements of this story that I'm going to get to. I'm going to direct you to a reading assignment as though this is a seminar, a graduate school seminar in War and Peace. And I'm going to direct you to the most important document on this subject, which is Trump's War. You have the book. Many of you have the book. Page 137, Trump's War Against the War Machine. I called him a man of peace. Page 139, one of the reasons I worked so hard to get Trump elected is I believe he will be a man of peace. Did you hear this? I said put everything else aside. The most important thing in this world is not the economy. It's peace. Domestic peace, international peace, peace between individuals, peace between nations is far more important than gross domestic product or low interest rates. Hundreds of years ago, I wrote, Thomas Hobbes said the very first law of nature is to seek peace. My friends, this is the essence of true conservatism. And I'm not just talking about the absence of military war on the battlefield. I'm talking about peace between individuals and groups within society. It's the opposite of progressivism, which seeks nothing but conflict. Progressives promote conflict between people of different racial groups, different sexual orientations, and different income levels. They even promote conflict between men and women. This is all in the most important document you could ever have in your hand. I'm appealing to all of you who do not consider yourselves to be politically akin with Michael Savage, but you listen to me because you hear something that you might agree with from time to time. I'm actually imploring you to go out right now and buy a copy of Trump's War, especially for this one chapter, Trump's War Against the War Machine. What are my savage solutions? 1, stand firm on peace with Russia. 2, combat the war propaganda with the bully pulpit. Destroy ISIS and then leave the Middle East. Bring our troops home from unnecessary deployments. I stand by those very words. Russia, 1.7 million. France, 1.3 million. Great Britain and the Empire, 908,000. Italy, 650,000 dead. USA, 126,000 dead. Japan, 300. Romania, 335,000 dead. Serbia, 45,000 dead. Belgium, 13,800. Greece, 5,000. Total allies lost 5 million men in World War I. Germany lost 1.7 million men. Austria, little Austria, lost 1.2 million men in the carnage. Turkey, 325,000. Bulgaria, 87,000. I am talking about human lives. I am talking about men whose legs were blown off, trying to crawl out from wet trenches without legs in their last dying breath, trying to crawl away from legs that were blown off underneath their bodies in World War I. I'm talking about the sloppiest, most disgusting war in human history, World War I. It was all started in the very same way that this war is now being ginned up by the progressives and the neocon ventriloquists. And I, Michael Savage, am a conservative peacenik. Do you want war with Russia? Is that what you idiots want? War with Russia? At the same time this is going on, as you well know, the head of China just arrived an hour ago, Palm Beach. I was quite surprised that the president arrived an hour later. I'll talk about protocol in a moment. I don't know who's advising the president, but if he had asked me, he would not have arrived an hour later as though he's on a date, trying to act like he's, let's say, better than the date. I never saw anything like this. Why was he not in Palm Beach to greet the president of China? I'm asking another question, another violation of protocol. Who is running this administration? And then, I'm sorry to say, Ivanka Trump gets off the plane in a miniskirt, a blue miniskirt. Who is advising this administration? It certainly isn't Michael Savage. Do you remember when they made that huge gaffe with Taiwan? Shortly after McConnell's wife, a Taiwanese national, was named Secretary of the Transportation. Remember that? She was the first cabinet appointee. Mitch McConnell's wife made Secretary of Transportation. Nice lady, smart lady, good lady. Nothing wrong with her. The very next day or so, Trump committed a huge gaffe by publicly attacking China's one-child policy. Excuse me, by attacking China with regard to Taiwan. Huge mistake, never should have been done publicly. Should have been done privately. I said so on the air. Many of you disagreed with me because you do not know protocol. I do. I understand how the Chinese mind works. I understand Chinese diplomacy, probably better than most of the people around Donald Trump. They come from a rather vulgar, primitive, commercial background. And my friends, there's an awful lot at stake right now. I am a conservative peacenik. Do you want war with Russia? Mr. President, listen to me. I am your greatest supporter. Do not let the warmongers bring us to war with Russia.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
You're listening to Michael Savage. Coming up at 3, it's Mark Levin on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
I think further it is very important that the Russian government consider carefully their continued support for the Assad regime. Assad's role in the future is uncertain, clearly, and with the acts that he has taken, it would seem that there would be no role for him to govern the Syrian people.
I, Michael Savage, am a conservative peacenik. I'm not buying the big lie. Who is it that wants war with Russia? This all comes a day after Steve Bannon was moved out of the inner circle. It doesn't matter what we think of Steve. We don't know Steve well enough to know who he is or what he is. We do know that he represented the conservative wing of the inner circle. That's a well-known fact. Almost to the day that he was removed, the militancy against Syria and Russia has now been ratcheted up by the President and by the Secretary of State. In other words, the military-industrial complex has won. Today we hear that President Trump plans military action on Syria without even knowing who conducted the horrific nerve gas attack on civilians. Trump yesterday spun 180 and said he's changed his mind about military action. Now, somebody used sarin gas, but do we know who used the sarin gas? I don't. Now, while we're speaking about military retaliation, again, I'm going to keep saying this to you until you hear me. The most important thing you could possibly possess on this subject of preventing war is the best-selling book, Trump's War. I'm not going to stop until you understand how important it is to stop the war before it gets worse. Chapter 7, Trump's War Against the War Machine. I pushed Donald Trump because I thought he was a man of peace. I talked about the liberal warmongers. I talked about the neocons in radio and television who have a hatred for Russia and want war with Russia. I talked about the war profiteers. I talked about the battle plan. And you have to now get the ammunition you need to speak to as many people as you can to stop this insanity. The critical mass has been reached. The war drums are now being beaten to a crescendo. I also want to talk about the Harry Reid nuclear option that is being used by the Senate, thank God, to push through the very, very intelligent, very moderate, very great Judge Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. And I have nothing better for your listening pleasure than Harry Reid himself in 2013 explaining why he used the nuclear option right now on the Savage Nation.
The Senate was set up to be different. That was the genius, the vision of our founding fathers, that this bicameral legislature, which was unique, had two different duties. One was, as Franklin said, to pour the coffee into the saucer and let it cool off. That's why you have the ability to filibuster and to terminate filibuster. They wanted to get rid of all that, and that's what the nuke option was all about.
That's what the nuke option is all about. So they invented it. We warned them that if a Republican wins, they're going to regret it. But they were so smug that they thought Hillary would win no matter what. They laughed at us. What goes around comes around.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
You're listening to Michael Savage on Really Big Something Channel.
So the progressives want war with Russia. The military-industrial complex wants war with Russia. Maybe even China throw in a war with North Korea. Let us see. The neocon ventriloquists in the media want war with Russia to prove how tough they are on the radio. It's beyond comprehension that you don't see how dangerous this is. I read you a list of First World War casualties. Each number is a person. Each person suffered and died. 1.7 million Germans, 1.2 million Austrians, 1.7 million Russians, 1.3 million French, almost a million Englishmen and Empire, let us say members of the Empire, if you want to call them members. A total of 8.5 million men were maimed and killed in World War I. Now added the wounded, POWs missing, 37 million men. 37 million men, casualties. We must have peace. We must not permit the warmongers to start a war with Russia or China. But they seem to be prevailing at this time. I am a conservative peacenik. I'm going to make this very personal for you. You have heard me ponder on this very radio show on a regular basis what my purpose is in being on the radio. I'm way past the commercial purpose. Why am I on the radio? Why do I keep doing this? I've asked the question publicly. I question myself privately. Most men in my position would have retired a long time ago, but I don't retire. It's not up to me to retire. That would be suicide. Retirement is intellectual suicide. I don't commit suicide. I am here because a higher power put me here. I can tell you in 100 ways I know it's a fact that I wouldn't be here for 1 second were it not for a higher power. I asked you after the election whether I should continue. Many of you said yes, you have a job to do. I didn't know what the job was. I know what the job is. I must be a diplomat for peace. I, Michael Savage, must call for the president not to listen to the warmongers who have gotten in his ear. This is insanity. It's changed in a 2-day period. And all these people who are screaming for war, most of them never fought in a war. I'd like to hear from the men who actually were on a battlefield. Ask them what they think about going to war with Russia or China. It's all crazy. The whole thing is insanity. It's all wrong. First of all, let's go back to what's triggering Trump's turnabout. Syrian gas attack. Who did it? Why would Assad drop sarin gas on unarmed civilians when he's already winning the war against ISIS? And what would he have gained from it? Just use common sense. He was gaining. They were in retreat. What would he gain from it? Nothing. So who dropped the gas? We saw this before a few years ago, and it turned out that he didn't drop the gas on the civilians years ago. It was done by the Syrian rebels, put in place by the generals who are now trying to get us to go to war. But there is another element, and I'm reluctant to say it because of the fear I have in saying what I'm going to say to you. But I guess I'm past the point of holding back almost anything. When I woke up this morning and I started to study this issue of the war drums being beaten, and Trump is considering military retaliation against Syria, against Russia. And then I see Tillerson an hour ago, the Secretary of State, saying that he actually ratcheted up. Then I saw this morning that the ex-chief rabbi of Israel said that what is being done to Syrian civilians is akin to the Holocaust, and that it would be a biblical crime not to intervene against Syria. I said, something's wrong with this picture. First of all, a rabbi is not supposed to egg war on. It's supposed to be men of peace. That's number one. Otherwise, they're false prophets. I don't care what they call themselves. I don't care how well they quote scriptures or the Talmud or the Torah. Means nothing to me. If they're warmongers, then they're not rabbis. They're not teachers. So I said, wait a minute. Let's put the pieces of this 1,000-piece puzzle together. Trump was on the side of Russia when he was running for office, which is one of the great reasons I supported him, because I thought he'd be a man of peace, while Hillary was calling Putin Hitler, along with the neoconservatives in the media, who also said he was Hitler, the holdovers from the Reagan years, who want a continuous war with Russia. They haven't grown up yet. They don't understand the world has changed. The Russia of today is not the Soviet Union of the era of Ronald Reagan. Oh, I know, he was a KGB. We heard it 1,000 times. The economy is different. The people are different. It's a different world. So I ask myself, who's really pushing Trump to war against Russia? Who's making him more militant now? But before I give you the inside story of what I think, putting the pieces together, I think we should play the little bit of Donald Trump on this show. I think it was in November of 2016. Robert, please play that for the listeners.
If I win on November 8th, I think I could see myself meeting with Putin and meeting with Russia prior to the start of the administration. I think it would be
wow. That's an amazing news story. That's an amazing news story. We made news on the show. We were electrifying the world on this radio program all through the campaign. It is why my publisher asked me to please write Trump's war. They too want peace in the world. They don't want war. You see, here's the paradox, or the irony. You got the phonies on MSNBC who make believe that they're peaceniks. They're warmongers. They're sick, degenerate warmongers. Every last one of them is now trying to start a war with Russia. Every last one of the so-called liberals wants war with Russia. How is it that I, Michael Savage, the bad guy, want peace in the world? How is that possible? Now let's talk about the nuclear option again for a moment. We keep hearing from the liars on MSNBC in particular, perhaps the worst network in history, far worse than Wolf Blitzer's girlfriends on CNN. That group of liars. When I see Wolf Blitzer, I want to break something. He's worse than MSNBC. He stands for the worst in the human race. That little white-haired grandpa, old Wolf Blitzer, the propagandist, who toasted a glass of wine during the campaign when Hillary won the nomination. He's a journalist? Well, we know they're fake news. We know Jeff Zucker is a fake news boy. We understand that. He has nothing on Billy Batson. Billy Batson, newsboy, would have been a better chief for CNN than Jeff Zucker. But this is not a comic strip we're dealing with. We're dealing with life and death. And warmongers need not apply. So we hear on CNN and MSNBC that the evil Republicans are using a nuclear option, which is so bad for America. It's going to destroy 200 years of tradition. First of all, I played for you the fact that Harry Reid himself created the nuclear option. He created it. He talked about it in November 2013. You heard it on the Savage Nation, nowhere else today. I'm sure you didn't hear it anywhere else. I'm positive. But I got something better for you right now, courtesy of Newsbusters. Here's one to take home to the children. Here are the very same progressives who are now screaming bloody murder about the Republicans destroying the democratic process by using the nuclear option to vote on Neil Gorsuch. Here they are in 2013 celebrating the use of the nuclear option. I want you to listen carefully as you hear the biggest phony of them all, Rachel Madcow, Chris Chill Up His Leg Matthews, Al, the street vermin, Sharpton, the Democrat operative Paul Beggia, and, of course, someone named Howard Feynman. I don't know who he is. Listen to them celebrating the very thing they're attacking now.
Well, the idea of requiring a supermajority for the president to appoint his nominees just is anachronistic.
Here's the thing. It's been so abused, this filibuster. The filibuster can be a very good thing. It compels bipartisanship, but it's been so abused they just can't take it anymore. So I think they did the right thing.
This afternoon, Democrats took the bold step of changing Senate rules, scaling back the filibuster that Republicans have unfairly used to block the president's nominees.
Judges can be blocked on an up or down vote, on a majority vote, like always, but they cannot be blocked anymore with just a minority of votes. Republicans cannot force that anymore.
It's due to the action of the Senate Democrats today. There will be no more 60-vote requirements to get the president's appointments confirmed. No more dallying around and delay tactics. No more Mickey
Chris,
Mouse.
you drunkard.
With any luck, there will be action.
This is a huge freaking deal. This is like 3-inch headline.
I agree with you about this being an affirmative win for democracy. If that is the case, why do we still have the filibuster for legislation?
I was afraid of, okay, what happens when the other side has this power?
Right here. You heard it all. No one has played this yet on the air that I know of. If they did, good luck to them. I don't listen to everything being played. This was put together by Newsbusters. Here are the very same liberal, phony, hypocrite liars screaming against the nuclear option, supporting the nuclear option when they were in power. And now let me tell you something. When they designed this little trick, the nuclear option, and Harry Reid glorified it, they thought for sure that they would run this country for 100 years at least. And therefore they figured they could use this nuclear option, no matter what happened, to push any legislation they wanted. They were so arrogant and so drunk on their power under Barry that they figured that, what the heck, what have they got to lose? I warned on this show, I said, be careful what you're doing right now, because if, God forbid for you, a Republican should win, it's going to be used against you. Well, everyone laughed at me because they said it's not possible. There will be no Republican president. Don't be silly. It's never going to happen. Well, by hook or by crook, we have a Republican president, whether you like him or not. He is the president. He's Republican. And the Republicans in power are going to use the very, very petard that you created to hang you with. You know the old saying, hung by their own petard? There's a reason for that saying, hung by their own petard. The Democrats are being hung by their own petard. They created the nuclear option. They're now being hung by it. My friends, I want to take some calls from combat veterans who agree with me when I call myself what I've called myself. I thought my monologue was very important, perhaps my most important in a very long time. And what's even odder is that even the far-left extremist, Noam Chomsky, is calling the Democrats' obsession with Russia conspiracy theories a joke. I see it as clear as a bell. This whole thing with Syria is invented. The invented Syrian gas attack by Assad makes no sense at all. His side is winning. ISIS is on the run. Why would he do that? against unarmed civilians. What would he stand to gain from it? No, don't take the bait. Who is it pushing war? Now, remember what I said at the beginning of this 10,000-piece puzzle. Who was pushed out of the White House yesterday? It actually happened a week ago. I knew about it a week ago, but I was sworn not to say a word. I did not say a word. He was pushed out. He left yesterday out of the inner circle, off the National Security Council. In comes the war wing. Who's doing it? Ah, my friends, there's the rub. All of the internationalists, all the globalists want war. Did you understand what I just said to you? Who wants war with Russia more than anyone? George Soros hates Putin. Who else wants war with Russia? The liberals in the United States of America want war with Russia for reasons I've expressed over and over again. He is the cultural enemy of the radical degenerate left in the West. He is the only one standing in the way of the radical degenerate left from taking over the entire world. They want war. It seems to me now that the liberals and the neocons are prevailing, and they have both of Donald Trump's ears. I am Michael Savage, and I am a conservative peacenik. Do you want war with Russia? I can recommend an enlistment station in your neighborhood. You're never too old to enlist in the military. Even those of you in the media. You could always go down and contribute to the war effort. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
You're listening to Michael Savage. Coming up at 3, it's Mark Levin on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Dr. Michael Savage back with you. You know, my mother always used to say, you are what you eat. And boy, she was right. But really, who knows what's healthy anymore, right? Well, here's something I can tell you for sure. Drink Super Beets. Drink it. What is Super Beets? Super Beets is a circulation superfood. Just one glass of it a day helps give you the cardiovascular power of this amazing vegetable. Now, why is this important to you? It's all about healthy blood flow. If you're over 40, your body may be losing its efficiency around energy, stamina, and even maintaining healthy blood pressure. Drinking good-for-you superfoods helps feed your body's cardiovascular and circulatory system and boosts your stamina and energy at the core level. You see, professional and college athletes trust Super Beets to help them be their best, and you should also. So do something good for yourself today. Go to SavageLovesBeets.com, SavageLovesBeets.com, and try Super Beets. Right now, you can get an additional 30-day supply of Super Beets for no additional cost with your first order plus free shipping. How can you beat that? Try it. Go to SavageLovesBeets.com today or call 1-800-481-0504. Write it down. That's 800-481-0504, SavageLovesBeets.com. So we are talking about war and peace. We're talking about the most important thing a man on earth can do. This is the number one lesson that all religious people are taught, which is peace. Jesus brought us a message of peace. Rabbis are supposed to teach us peace and how to find peace, not only within ourselves, but between people. And yet we have warmongers disguised as conservatives or disguised as progressives who every day spit and fume hatred like spit vipers, spitting hatred, wanting war, not peace. So how did this suddenly happen that Donald Trump, who I thought was a man of peace, is taking this gas attack in Syria, hook, line, and sinker, as though he knows for sure it was the Syrian Air Force that did it, when common sense would indicate it was not the Syrian Air Force? I want you to try and use common sense, even if you are a dumb progressive, even if you are an ideological, stupid right-winger. Listen to me carefully. Assad is winning the war on all fronts. ISIS is on the run. Why in the world would Assad unleash sarin gas on innocent civilians? Logic tells us he did not do that. Logic tells us it's people who want war who did that. Now, who benefits from a war with against knocking Syria out? Israel. Period. End of story. Israel benefits the most if Assad is gone. One of Israel's number one enemies has always been Syria and the Syrian Air Force. One thing Israel wants, in my estimation, and it's only a guess, I have no way to know any of this. I'm just a man on the second floor looking down on the street, watching people go by. Israel wants the Syrian Air Force gone. Israel wants Syria gone. Israel would rather face Hezbollah and ISIS than the Syrian military, because the Syrian military is a military. Hezbollah is not a military, as tough as it may be. It has no air force. It has no navy. It has no weaponry that can threaten Israel. ISIS is nothing to them. They can crush them like mice. So think about it carefully. Think about it carefully before you buy this hook, line, and sinker. Who was stopping this warmongering? It looks like Bannon. The day Bannon was out, Trump turned 180. That's my opinion. I'm Michael Savage. Be here.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Manilow comes out. I care so greatly about that one. Barry Manilow is gay. That's really earth-shattering. I'm telling you, America will come to a halt. The ski slopes will stop running. I mean, the lifts. Ski lifts will stop lifting. The buses will stop running. The subways won't run on time. Every time their careers go into a tailspin, they claim that they were molested or they're gay. You notice that in the entertainment world? Like, who cares what he does with his private life? It's more than I want to know about him. I don't want to imagine anything about him in that situation, if you don't mind. Manilow comes out as gay. Do we have to call him something new now, like Womanilo or Manny High? What do we call him now? Oh, it's not a trans thing. He's just gay. Okay, that's old. That's old stuff. Plain gay today is like Mom, Pa, Kettle. Do you realize that that's how crazy the society has become? I can imagine that the gay people are considered like old-fashioned now to the trans community, like very boring. Oh, you're gay, big deal. Whatever. 52% say Clinton should be part of Russia probe. No one cares. Trump bump, 46% approve. Mideast peace process. The big thing is the Bannon, but no one's calling about it. I see what it is. You probably do too, and there's nothing to say about it. So I think I should start this hour by talking about other stuff. I've given you all the stuff that really is worthwhile. McConnell is saying Gorsuch will be confirmed this week. That's good that McConnell's going to pull the nuclear option. That's all I can say. And I think it's a done deal because even the Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, Pocahontas is saying if the GOP jams through Gorsuch, they'll own every extreme decision. And then what? You know, they act as though they don't have any extremists on the bench, right? Like they didn't give us Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who had been the head of the ACLU legal department. You hear this? Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the most radical extremist in the history of the U.S. Supreme Court. You know that old witch on the Supreme Court with the looks like she has not a broomstick to fear, that she has a closet filled with broomsticks from every place on earth? That mean, nasty left-wing fanatic, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was the former head of the ACLU legal department. That's not an extremist? So now they put a moderate on. They want to put Gorsuch on. By any stretch of the imagination, he's not an extremist. He is a centrist. He is a constitutionalist. He's now an extremist to the fanatics on the left. So here she's saying, oh, if we jam through Gorsuch, they'll own every... Here is clip 9 with Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren.
Republicans have a choice. They can tell President Trump to send a new nominee, a Main Street nominee who can earn broad support.
Please.
Or they can jam through this nominee.
Yes,
if
jam it.
They do jam through Judge Gorsuch, the Republicans will own the Gorsuch court.
Good.
And every extreme 5-4 decision that comes out of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, you knocked the other one off your team. You sent them down to the border hotel there. And never came back. He took a one-way trip. Took a one-way trip to southern Texas to the border hotel, never came back. So that's it. That's the good thing. That's the good thing. They should jam it through like the left is jamming things through our whole life. Bannon loses power in White House shakeup. No one knows who he is. See, the average American out there just came for... This is the problem is if you do talk radio in your studio all the time, you don't see what goes on outside your studio. Most people do not care about these issues. Do you know that? I mean, we read the Drudge Report. We obsessed with the news. But that's the average American isn't. They don't care. They don't even care. They're running their lives. They could care less about all this crap. The election is over. They have a president. They figure, give him a chance and leave me alone already. It's all, you know, what do you call that? Infighting and this and that. They don't care. They're busy making a living. They're busy trying to raise a family if they have one. They don't pay attention to this little stuff. They don't even know who Bannon is. Do you know that? They never heard of him. Okay, the headline, Bannon banned. That would be my headline. Bannon banned. Well, what'll he do next is the only question I have. Will it be Fox News or MSNBC? That's all I'm thinking about. What career is he going to take in the media? Because he got great recognition right now. He could write a book, make a lot of money. The inside story blows whistle on Trump administration to get even. That would be a book. My God. Speaking of which, you know, I'm going to say it. I know you don't want to hear it, but I'll say it again. Trump's war was everywhere I went. Every Barnes & Noble, every big bookstore I stopped in, there it was. And I don't mean all 10 copies that they order, like it was down to 2. They're selling. Salt Lake City Barnes & Noble, I have a picture of me. There it is. I actually signed the books in the Salt Lake City Barnes & Noble. The book is selling like crazy. It outsold Donald Trump's own book. Did you hear that story? How could this little radio show outsell the president's Trump book? I mean, Trump's war outsold the president's Making America Great Again book. Why? Because apparently the truth sells. The truth sells. They hear the plain truth with me. They may not like it. They may not agree with a lot of what I say or everything I say, but they feel they're listening to a guy who's telling them, calling him like he sees it, which I am. You know, the buck stops here. Look, what I said today, that's going to banish me from the dessert. The dessert table's over. King Arthur's court, it's not going to have Savage on it probably because I said a few things that I felt were real and had to be said. About Syria, about the movement against the border wall, about that I fear there's going to be no tariffs on China. I don't think I'm going to have dessert again there. I hope so. In fact, the president should double his efforts to have me around him. You know why? Because he needs somebody like me to tell him what's real. What's real is what's important in this world, not the illusion. As Plato wrote, most people only see the shadows on the cave wall. We don't actually see the players. We don't see the figures. All we see are the shadows on the wall of the cave. We don't actually see what's going on. We don't know who the actors are. But I'm a guy who could actually see the x-rays and read them. I read the x-rays on the wall. And if this administration wants to thrive, it's going to have to have people like me telling them what's true, what the average person sees out there. Let's say the cognizant person, someone paying attention to radio, you know. Okay, not as bad as you think, huh? No, sirree, Bob. That's not a big story, huh? Rick Perry's the head now of the National Security Agency? Rick Perry, Mr. Open Borders? The cowboy, the Open Borders cowboy is now, he took over Bannon's job? Rick Perry was George Bush. Rick Perry had a 10-gallon hat. Actually, George Bush had a 10-gallon hat. Rick Perry had a 2-gallon hat. Rick Perry was a wannabe George Bush. Rick Perry ran for office. He got nowhere because he wasn't a conservative. He looked like a conservative. He sounded like a conservative, but he was a John McCain from Texas, in plain English. And having said that, I may as well say this to you. What the heck? It's the first day back. Let it all hang out, as they used to say in the 60s. Trump is going to be another Schwarzenegger if this keeps up. For better or for worse, the Mr. Trump that we know is becoming the Arnold Schwarzenegger that we knew. Remember Schwarzenegger came to power in California, we all cheered, we said, thank God, we have the Terminator. Well, we didn't get the Terminator. I don't have a description of what he became, but the minute he hired a certain Ms. Kennedy, who came from the previous Democrat administration, she became chief of staff in California. She then directed the state of California down the toilet bowl. The socialist left is now predominant in California. It's a one-party state. The illegals overran the state because of Schwarzenegger and his follow-up with Moonbeam. And I think that this could happen unless we continue to say, no, Mr. President, that's not what we sent you to Washington to do. And it brings me back again to Trump's war, which is the ultimate guideposts. These are the guideposts of why he was elected. He can't forget it. And I don't think he should forget it. I'm going to try and make sure the president understands that we do remember what we voted for. What did we vote for? I've asked you this over and over again. What did we vote for? What did we vote for? I asked you again. What did we vote for? What did we vote for? The wall, tariffs, deportations, end Obamacare, save our guns, rebuild the military, save our schools, stop late-term abortion, which is infanticide, close down Planned Parenthood, protect our churches and synagogues from the radical left. That's what we voted for. What will the new president do? Well, Michael Savage in this book tells us that, yes, I helped push him over the finish line. Yes, all your deplorables who would not have voted. But the fact of the matter is, now what's going on is the real problem. We know that Donald Trump faces relentless opposition from liberals, socialists, etc. We know he faces opposition from the special interests in both parties who stand to lose trillions of dollars if his America First policies do become the law of the land. We know that. And we know that he has to overcome progressive ideologues. We know that. We know he has to overcome neoconservative ventriloquists, most of whom are on the radio. We know he has to overcome connected corporate interests. We know he has to overcome a military-industrial complex bent on permanent war. But what you did not see on the jacket of Trump's war is what I'm going to tell you about right now. I warned you, and I'm going to quote myself, Trump will also have to fight progressive beliefs even he and his otherwise conservative appointees have unwittingly accepted. I said that on the jacket copy of Trump's war because I saw this coming. Don't accuse me of being a goose stepper and just a simple cheerleader for the Trump administration. I know, and I knew, and I see what's happening. I knew this might happen. It's happening. The liberal wing is winning right now. It's prevailing. The conservative wing has been demoted, moved out of the predominant position within the inner circle. The liberal wing is now prevalent. And for better or for worse, you better accept what is going on. And this is most important to the conservatives who put Donald Trump where he is, or the libertarians, or the independents who didn't really know. All they knew was they had to keep her out. Well, if we don't get much change, then what are we going to say? For example, the Border Patrol. Do you know that Mr. Trump has appointed the same Border Patrol chief who was appointed by Obama? Did you know that? And the actual officers on the line are very, very furious. Now, why would he do that? Concurrent with putting in the same guy in charge of all the Border Patrol officers who are on the front lines of the invasion from Mexico. In addition to that, he put in Rick Perry now to replace Bannon, who's an open borders guy. I don't like the tea leaves. I'm sorry. I don't like where this is going. Look, I'm running short of time. It's great to be back with you. I will tell you this. I'm waiting for my lunch to arrive, and if I eat it on air, you will not know it this time. I promise not to let you hear it. But my energy drops off, so I don't think I will eat during the show. I'll stay hungry, I'll stay tense, and I'll stay tuned on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
You are listening to Michael Savage on Really Big Something Channel.
It is a short segment coming up. It's just speeding along. First day back. Can't believe it's Wednesday already. Let's take some calls, that's all. Charlie on WABC, New York, line 6. Fire away. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, you talk about the liberals taking over the party. I would tell people, don't underestimate the influence of Ivanka. She's got a lot of power and a lot of influence over that man, from everything I've read. And
That's right. I mean, blood is thicker than water. There's no question about it.
I know. And she was just today saying she has no problem telling him when she disagrees with him, and she's got a lot of influence.
Well, of course a daughter has influence on a father. I understand that. What father wouldn't understand that?
I have two daughters. I understand it exactly.
So, having said that Ivanka is influencing the president, what does that mean to you?
What it means is that I think that she espouses a more liberal philosophy than him, and he's more inclined to go along with her on some...
Well, he is being moved to the left. Here's another one. General McChrystal urges Trump not to scrap public broadcasting. Could you believe that a hard guy like General McChrystal is now coming out as a far-left radical, saying don't cut funding for public broadcasting when PBS is an around-the-clock propaganda channel for socialist Democrat philosophies?
Oh, I know.
I'm sending you a copy of Trump's War. It's still in bookstores. You can buy it anywhere. So that's a very big deal. It's a big deal, Charlie. Thanks for calling. Let's see, KSFO. Bill, line 9. What's on your mind? 30 seconds or less. Fire it away.
Mr. Savage, pleasure to talk to you. First-time caller. I don't think President Trump polarizes people into left-wing and right-wing. I think he's, just because he's a businessman, he's never categorized people in that method. I think he just looks at people's ideas and what they're saying and not as the person and polarizing them to left-wing or right-wing. I think that's why he is stumbling. I don't know if he's going to become a Schwarzenegger. Maybe he will. It's hard.
You're saying that his popularity has gone down owing to the fact that he's not committed to any ideology. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's not an ideological person. However, you know, the media is beating him left and right day by day. That's causing his popularity to drop as well.
Absolutely. It's the constant propaganda from Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper and the Soviet outlets like Politico and BuzzFeed. This non-stop attacking is driving him down, yet his approval ratings just went up. Trump bumped 46% approve. Rasmussen, daily presidential tracking poll for Wednesday shows that 46% of likely voters approve of Trump's job performance. 54% disapprove. So it's changing a little bit. He took a terrible beating after the debacle of the Obamacare attacks that didn't work. The American people don't like a loser. Americans don't like a loser. They like a winner. Let me tell you that right now. And they saw him as having taken on a battle that he lost. And that's why his popularity went down. And he should learn a lesson from that, which is never bring a bill before Congress that you know is not going to, unless you know you got the votes to pass it. And also don't use tactics of threatening and bullying in advance of such a vote publicly. That's so wrong. That's so wrong. It didn't work. And they saw that. They didn't like it. But jobs are way up. Jobs are way up, and people care about that. So it's a fluid situation. Very, very fluid situation. This is the Savage Nation. Many topics. Phone number is 855-407-282. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
Regular day out there. It's nothing earth-shattering. Steve Bannon's out. No one knows who he is. You drive around America, you think they know who he is. It's not a household name. It's not like Barry Manilow. That's a bigger story to them that he came out as he's gay. That Manilow did. If you stopped at a gas station with pumping gas and a guy was across the pump from you and you wanted to chat, they would know who Barry Manilow is. They wouldn't know who Steve Bannon was. They never heard of him. So to them, it's just internal, fighting over power struggle. But when an entertainer comes out as gay, that they know. That's a big deal, apparently. I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know who. I don't want to care. I don't care one way or the other. I never liked the singing to begin with. You like it? Good luck to you. It's a huge universe. You can like, not like. Some like me, don't like me. Why would they want to know anything about my, let's say, digestion? Do I chew 20 times Savage says he doesn't chew 20 times for each bite. Eats like a wolf. Oh, that would stop. Why would you care about my alimentation any more than you would care about Barry Manilow's sexuality? To me, it's the same thing. It's a bodily function. Leave me alone already with this stuff. When the records start to die off already, they come out either as a victim or molested as a youth, or they give you their sexual orientation when you don't even care. Did you notice that? With the actresses, once no one looks at them anymore, I was molested when I was 5. Okay, next. Oh, wow, let's have her on Good Morning America. She get out the tears and the napkin. Everyone was molested at 5. You say Rick Perry appointed to the National Security Council, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. No one knows what the NSC is to begin with. Rick Perry, big deal. We know he's a liberal. Open borders. We know that the head of the Border Patrol that Trump appointed, same one that Obama appointed. Bingo, end of story. China's coming to town. The head of China with a delegation that wraps around the moon. What do you think's going to happen there? Nothing. No tariffs. No revaluation of the yen. Not the no revaluation of China's currency, the yuan, sorry. I confuse yen with yuan. Excuse me. No revaluation of the money that we were promised. Nothing. Nothing will happen. Nothing. I'll go home, bow, and scrape, and that'll be the end of it. Mark on WFTL, line 3, what's on your mind?
Michael, I noticed right away as soon as Trump took over, he started changing the relationship with Israel. He said that he was going to move the embassy to Jerusalem. He was going to recognize Jerusalem as the capital. He gets this clown named Mattis that we have as a general who insists that Tel Aviv is the capital and not Jerusalem. And then he had this Michael Flynn, a very strange situation developed, you may recall, where Flynn went out and tweeted. He just did this after a whole bunch of information on Hillary came out publicly, and he tweets, "No more Jews, not anymore, not any more Jews." And then he claims he was...
Wait. What did Flynn say? Not any more Jews where?
All about.
Wait, stop. Slow down. I know you're excited. Flynn said no more Jews where?
Michael Flynn did it. He went and tweeted, "Not any more Jews, not anymore."
What does he mean? Wait, what does he mean by not any more Jews? Jews what?
This was when when the papers came out that exposed Hillary Clinton for committing crimes, and then he seemed to be upset with whoever released the documents showing that Hillary Clinton was acting improperly and in a treasonous manner. He came out with that.
Flynn said no. How do you know Flynn didn't say no more news? Maybe he meant news, not Jews.
No, he said Jews. And that was it.
How do you? Because sometimes people are so sensitive to that issue that they hear it anywhere. They go into let's say they're on the road, and they go out to have some orange juice. I mean, people are overly sensitive. Hear the word Jew, they say, "What did he say? Orange Jews?"
Oh, first of all, we had over 100,000 Nazi war criminals hidden all over the world by the people.
Oh, here we go. Oh, so you're into that. You're into that paranoia now. The World War II never ended.
What never ended?
To you, World War II is still being fought.
No, actually, there was a secret treaty of Fort Hunt that ended it. You could go online and read the whole treaty. It had to do with.
But you're still fighting World War II. Mark, you seem to be fighting World War II, right?
No, I'm not fighting it. I'm telling you, if you go online right now, you could get all the papers that were classified that are on there about...
Okay, well, I don't understand your point. What is your main point? Flynn said no more Jews?
No. After the newspapers were released, not the newspapers, they documented...
Let me start at the top. No one knows who Flynn is. He was fired, right? Was he good or bad for Israel? Let's start with that.
Tweeted this and then went and erased it.
No, I'm saying, but I'm hearing you. But there used to be a joke in New York where everybody would break it down to, is he good or bad for Israel? Was Flynn good or bad for Israel?
Not anymore. That's what he tweeted.
You're not answering me. Was Flynn good or bad for Israel at the time? Which way was he?
Which way was he about what?
Israel!
Well, he doesn't. He's. I would say the guy's a Jew hater. I don't believe he.
Here we go again. Why do you say Flynn was a Jew hater? Okay, let's turn it around. What about Bannon? Was he also anti-Semitic?
I don't know. I heard that some people claim he was, and some claim he wasn't. I don't have all.
Okay, you see this. This is rumor. This is false information put out by the forces that are putting out false information about Donald Trump, and you're buying it hook, line, and sinker. You can't believe this stuff. I have never seen any indication that either of these men were for or against Semites. I don't understand where this is coming from. But what's your main point today? I don't quite understand what you're saying. Trump is not committing himself to Israel sufficient for you? Is that it?
Okay. This guy tries to present himself as being pro-America and anti-Hillary Clinton. So these documents that are classified, top secret, they're dumped.
Hold it. Stop with the documents. Just tell me in plain English what you're disappointed in regarding Donald Trump and Israel. What has he done to disappoint you? Do you remember when Netanyahu came here 3 weeks ago? It was a love affair. Where's the bad stuff with Israel here?
I think I just told you. He tweeted, "No more Jews, not any more."
Wait. Who said no more Jews?
What?
This guy, I'll tell you the truth. I'll give you one more shot. Okay. The president never did that. This is a national radio show. You're purposely obfuscating what you're saying to smear Donald Trump, is what I'm hearing.
It did that. What do you mean, the president?
All right, have a nice day. This is like right out of an old age home in Boca Raton. My mother, may she rest in peace. There were people like this in Century Village. Whatever you'd say to them, they'd argue with you. You'd say, "How's the weather today?" "What are you asking me that for?" Whatever you'd say. "Have a nice day." "How dare you say have a nice day? Who are you to say have a nice day? Do I know you?" This is the kind of caller I just had. Whatever you say to them, they argue with you. Look, I can't help it that the man lost his wife years ago, and he's alone somewhere in Fort Lauderdale, arguing with me. I don't know what he was talking about. To him, everyone's an anti-Semite. You pick up a stone, he sees an anti-Semite. You put down a stone, he says the rock is anti-Semitic. There's people who are crazy on this subject. I don't know what he was talking about. I think he was a smear artist trying to obfuscate what he was saying about General Flynn with Trump, so that in the middle of it, if you heard it, you say Trump. That's what he's trying to do, smear. It was a smear job. He may be working for Politico or BuzzFeed. That's what he sounds like to me. Because like the voice was good, but underneath it was crazy. Crazy. A Century Village inhabitant. If you say the sky is blue, he'd say, "Where is it blue?" "What do you mean blue?" "Look, there's a white cloud." So what do you mean? I'm saying it nicely. He said, "Blue sky." "Why? Because your problem that it's a blue sky? Why are you telling me it's a blue sky? What, you got something you're selling me?" All right, let's not argue over the sky. How are you feeling today? What's your business how I'm feeling? You don't know me. Why are you asking me? This is the kind of personality you get in Florida. The Hanging Chad people. The Hanging Chad folks live down there. That's why I love it so much. I remember when my mother went into the assisted living, it wasn't funny because, God rest his soul, there was a guy on her floor who was in his 50s. He had Alzheimer's. He had been a doctor, 55 years old, looked perfectly healthy, normal. I was afraid for her life when I went there. I thought he'd kill me with a steak knife. You didn't know what he would do. He was a big guy, too. Big guy, looked perfectly normal. But I heard he was like, whatever. But you don't know. Then I was afraid to leave her in there. I don't know what he was going to do. You don't know. I don't understand why they mix like that. An older woman on a floor with a guy 50, like in his 6'5", big guy, steak knife. Even a plastic knife can be dangerous in an assisted living. You don't know what they're going to do. It's not a laughing matter. I lighten things up. I have a gallows sense of humor because it's the way of all flesh. We all wind up there. Your whole life you try to avoid cancer or heart attack. You struggle every minute. You eat right. You take antioxidants. You don't do this. You don't do that. You don't inhale toxicants. And then one day you find out that if you live long enough to not get cancer or heart attack, you wind up alone anyway in an old age home, pushed into a corner, unmoving, facing a curtain, an old curtain. And then one of the orderlies beat you about the head and neck so that no one sees it with like a soft object and takes the change that your family gives you when they come in once a year. That's the end of all of us. In other words, if you avoid heart attack or cancer, don't die young, so what do you got to look forward to? The old age home. It's a real bargain. It's a total bargain. So a Mexican friend said to me the other day, he said, "Michael, this is hell here on earth." He said, "We believe that this is a hell." He said, "This is actually a punishment." I said, "Maybe where you came from, but we all struggle. I don't want to go into it." We're all crucified one way or the other. When you think about it, some more so than others. You see a crippled child, you could say there's extremes. I understand that. Are you telling me if you're listening to this show, in some way you're not agonizing? Everyone on earth has agony. I don't care if they look happy and they're skiing. There's agony underneath the surface. I don't care if they're on a yacht celebrating with 18 girlfriends. They're in agony. At some point, there's agony. The human condition is agonizing. Again, I'm going to bum you out, but I see things as they are. Don't say it's because I'm an older guy. I'm telling you how it is. You look back when you were 20, for example. You think you were carefree and happy? You weren't. You were agitated. You didn't know what you were doing with yourself. You did everything that the other guys did and didn't know what you were doing. So if they drank rum and coke when they're in Florida, you drank rum and coke. Then you got older, you drank more sophisticated drinks. You wouldn't touch rum and coke. It's a child's drink, right? But what I'm saying is you copycat. The music that they like, you like, because you want to fit into the crowd. But you didn't know what you were doing. Your whole day was running around in circles like in an agony, trying to figure out what to do with yourself to make yourself happier. But you didn't know how to do it. You never achieved happiness. No one does. It's the chasing after happiness that drives you crazy. When you stop running after happiness, you have a chance for some degree, some modicum of contentment. Anyway, I don't want to, whatever. So look at Steve Bannon, loses power in a White House shakeup, right? Was he happy when he was in power? An obscure website operator becomes all of a sudden the most important man in America next to the president. How did that happen? Ask yourself how that happened. How did Donald Trump fall for Steve Bannon to begin with? You wanted me to take it from the top? Let's start from the top. Okay, Bannon helped him in the last 3 months. Him and Barfly. Where's Barfly today? Sayonara. After the I can't use the right. It's a family show. Barfly. You remember the day the black educators came to the Oval Office, and she sat on the couch in a certain very undignified manner. I mean, it was shocking. Do you remember that? The legs up, the heels dug into the couch, taking a selfie. I said, what are they, crazy? They don't see it's like the king has no clothes. Mr. Trump, take a look at this woman. She's nuts. She's doing like a softcore porno shot on the couch there. It was so bad. He didn't get rid of her, though. Now I don't know where she is. Blueberry Farm, whatever. Okay, but along with her came along with her came Bannon. They came from the same, who knows? Bannon and Barfly were put in. They took credit for the election. That's what Mr. Trump thought. He's president. He can make that decision. Now they're both gone. So what does that tell you? It tells you there was an internal power struggle, and there's a new structure in place. Now, interestingly enough, Barfly and Webb were both conservative, at least in principle, in public. Barfly and Bannon were the conservative wing. Well, now that they're gone, and Rick Perry has replaced Webb, I don't know who's going to replace Barfly. Who do you bring in for Barfly? Nobody. There is no... am I talking in code to people in the business, or does anyone know what I'm talking about? Maybe only that woman from Brooklyn knows what I'm talking about. The woman who sounds like the one from Howard Beach. Where is she? Anita from WABC. She was on to Barfly right from the get-go. Remember the one who didn't get married or left? Are you listening to me, young lady from WABC in Howard Beach? I'll be back to take your call in the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
You are listening to Michael Savage on Really Big Something Channel.
It is the Savage. My poor dog I don't know if he has Dogheimers or what. He just attacked my assistant's foot again. And it's since the incident with the scuffle, and he just brought me lunch, Teddy. Ease up on him. Bit his foot. He can't really bite. He's lost some teeth, but like crazy. Like a little poodle, nuts on the shoe. All he was giving me was the salmon, the farm-raised salmon. What do you want from him? This is not a bad thing, radio. It's a very good thing, because it's like going on tour without being on tour. It's reaching more people in 15 minutes. Let's say you go on a tour like a singer. You don't reach that many people. It's the rockers really have to kill themselves on the road. Oh, the rotten life that must be. That's why they burn out so much. Did you see that the guitarist Eric Clapton in the newspaper about a week ago? in a wheelchair. He looked so old. I felt bad for the guy. Aged, gone. Thank God. Thank God, still. That's what I was playing, I Don't Need Your Rocking Chair by George Jones. Play that song, would you please? I just want to hear it. I Don't Need Your Rocking Chair. I got an outfit like this up in Park City. Stop the music. I mean, I'm not that kind of guy, but I got a cowboy hat and like a fleece-lined jacket, which you cannot find them anywhere except up in mountain areas where they like slaughter sheep and make outfits out of them, whatever. But I got a beautiful jacket and hat. I looked at myself as a selfie in the mirror. It looked pretty good. I think I'm going to put it up on Facebook and they'll judge how I should dress, like a city slicker or like I just came down from Utah with bison and like Winchesters. It is the most stark landscape in the entire universe. Why do people pay $9 million for a condo to be up there? I don't know. You come down from 9,000 feet, you're dizzy by the time you hit Salt Lake City. Your head's like still up. I never saw any. How could you live at 9,000 feet? It's impossible. Even a bighorn sheep wants to flee and move down to a city. The buffalo even left that area. The deer left the area. And they're paying $9 million to live there. Go figure that one out. I'll be back for another hour. Be here.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
The hottest spot north of Havana, at the Copacabana. Music and passion were always the fashion at the
Muzak. Barry Manilow, Muzak. Good luck to him. Whatever he isn't, what he did, what he didn't do, I don't care. Trump to New York Times, I think Susan Rice may have committed a crime. No kidding. By requesting the identities of his associates mentioned in communications intercepted by security agencies? Of course she did. She's a no-goodnik. Rotten through and through. She's lied about everything she's ever touched, in my estimation. She's gotten away with it for you know why. You know the reasons, okay? Same reason Obama got away with murder. Obama could invade a nation, they would call it peace. War is peace, love is hate, freedom is slavery. Nothing's going to happen to Susan Rice. They're afraid of it. The minute they would put her up on the stand, they'd be called racist and sexist. They already did it. The one who felt the thrill up his leg already said it this morning from MSNBC. Why do they keep that jerk on? He's so old and so hard. I don't mind old, but the brains don't work anymore with him. What else is in the news? I'm not going to talk anymore about it with the Bannon. No one knows who he is. No one doesn't. It's not a big deal outside of the you got to understand, if you're a talk radio listener, you know who Steve Bannon is. If not, no, most people don't know. The average guy at a filling station, a gas station, does he know if you stop the pumping gas? It's because I came back from a road trip. I saw a different America. Don't ask about the trip down the mountain. I almost died in the car. I thought the guy was going to turn the car over. Did I tell you that story? No, it was like one of those trips where everything went wrong from the beginning to the end. Nothing was right. Oh, we're going to Park City. You love it, skiing. First of all, I don't ski. Secondly, I hate altitude. Thirdly, the resort, which is supposed to be this great 5-star resort, looked like a... How can I put it? I don't need to knock like a Marriott or a... It's like a Holiday Inn in the mountains. Nothing was right. Like the chair... Like I had a 2-bedroom suite, like 1,800 square feet. That was good, right? Not good. I couldn't sleep for 1 second. There were ski lifts outside the room. I heard machinery grooming the snow till 11, 12 at night with the beeping. So I called the desk. I said, when does this stop? They said, we don't know, sir. It's an outside company. I said, but it's your hotel. Well, you're at a ski resort, sir. I said, I know, but I need to sleep. Beep, beep, beep. And the grooming and the noise and the diesel, that went on till 2 in the morning. The furniture was like, oh my God, where'd they get this stuff from? Like bus van from the 1970s. What was the good of all of that? Then, you got to hear the ending of the story. I didn't tell it in the first 2 hours. All right, finally we're leaving. We cut the vacation shorter because it's supposed to be 2 nights. We made it 1. So you paid for the second because they won't let you out the second day. You got to pay anyway. So we're leaving, I don't know when, 5 o'clock, whenever, 6 o'clock, the hotel. It's like getting dusk already. The sun's going down, like limousine company, 2 cars. I get in the car, and when he pulls up in front of the hotel, I have the bellhop put the luggage in the car. It smelled fine, the car, because I have a very sharp sense of smell. I'm allergic to chemicals to begin with. The luggage is fine. I go inside to say something, so I come out, the car smelled like I can't explain it to you. It was a combination of bad cologne of a man's bad. Think of a Persian car dealer. I'm not knocking the Persian people, but they're very heavily into cologne. The car dealers out here, if they touch a door handle, you can never get it out of the plastic. It goes into the paint and the plastic. There's no cleaning solution. So it was like a combination of the cleaning of that and cleaning fluid. I said, what is this? The guy said, I spilled some perfume. I said, oh, he puts the rag that he did something with on top of my clothing bag. I just bought like an outfit in the mountains that cost me a fortune. I said, what are you doing? Get it out of here. The guy looked like he had just come out of, let's say, not a halfway house, a whole way house. Looked like he'd been in a whole way for a good 20 years. Hard time. And he grimaced. I didn't want to, if he lost his job, he'd kill me, hunt me down and murder me. So I'm sitting, now listen to this. This was a Hobson's choice all the way to the airport. First of all, the hotel was an hour away from the airport. I didn't know that. It took longer than the flight from San Francisco to go from 6,000 to 9,000 feet going. So I knew how to go back for it. I said, what did you do? Okay, so now here's your choice. You could either freeze to death on the way down the mountain because it was very cold with the windows open because you're going to die of the fumes otherwise. Or you can have the heat turned up and have the windows closed and die of a chemical solution that'll absolutely diminish your life. I had no choice. So I said, no heat or windows open, so I got an earache instead. I had a choice between an earache and throat cancer. I chose the earache. It was crazy. So I kept quiet because I knew he had trouble in his life. I could see that. They give him jobs like that. He was like grimacing. The minute I said, nicely, I was saying, why would you put that in the car? What is that exactly, that smell? And he whispered, he said, I just cleaned up a mess on the rubber mat. I said, before people get in your car, you get a weird cleaning solution from NASA to clean a stain off a rubber mat? I know. What is this stuff? So I saw he was grimacing already. Now the car's going 75 miles an hour down the mountain. And I saw if I needled too much, there could have been a flip over. And I saw it was very close to a flipper. Did you ever feel that? Like psychically? I said, so Mrs. Savage said, stop. She said, just cool it. Don't. So it was like you had to grin and bear it for that. I kept saying to him, how much longer is it to the airport? About 40 minutes, sir. Then it's like, okay, count the minutes. I'm freezing to death. My neck is going out. My ear is going out. My head is going out. Then I said, I had to give up. I said, okay, close the windows. We're going to put the heat on. Puts the heat on. You have to put like a napkin on my nose. How's that going to help? The molecules are still going to the paper. A nightmare. There was no way out of it. You couldn't stop. You couldn't get out. There was nothing to look at. It was the most stark landscape I've ever seen in my life. I've been in many places on Earth. This was the starkest landscape I have ever seen. Like mile after mile after mile of badlands coming off that mountain. And you see how people live. Like cluster condos running down the hill. And you look at people's lives in those places. What is it, television and OxyContin? Television and Shenley's? What do they do at night? There's no life. There's no civilization. There's nothing. What they pump into their brain on television is all they have. Thank God there's talk radio somewhere in the area. Or they have nothing altogether. Anyway, now let's get back to regular programming on the Savage Nation. How are you today? Let's go to the callers. Mariah on KKOH in Reno. Speaking of the mountains, how are you today, Mariah?
I'm good, Mr. How are you?
I don't answer that question. I just did it as a filler. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to comment on the barfly and how you were completely right. I totally agree with the woman from Howard Beach. I thought she was great, and you were right.
So you're a regular listener, and you don't like women generally.
I am a regular listener. I've been listening for the past couple of years now. And
But I'm saying, no, are you the kind of woman who likes women or doesn't get along with women?
I would say I probably don't get along with women too well.
See, the truth is, there's a lot of women who don't get along with women. That's not a misogynistic statement. It's a fact of reality.
Right. I would say that they're very catty. I'm not into the drama.
Oh, wait, but you're a woman. What do you mean they're very catty?
Other women tend to be very catty.
In other words, the women you don't like tend to be catty, but that includes all the women you ever meet.
Pretty much, yes, sir.
Okay, well, I don't know you personally. So you're not making this a general statement. You're saying that I thought that she was not right for the job because she was grandstanding in plain English. Every scene, there she was. Every minute, there she was. Funeral, there she was, bending over, running in front of the camera. But the last straw for me was when the black educators, the males, visited the Oval Office. There she was on the couch with her legs back. Did you see that picture I'm talking about?
I do. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, I'm sorry. It was sickening. But look, the issue is she's part... Yeah, all right. Thanks for the call. I'm sending you a copy of Trump's War. It has no lewd pictures in it. There's no X-rated or R-rated pictures in it. It's just A-rated conversation, A-rated writing. All I'm saying to you is Barfly is gone. At least I don't see her. Bannon is now gone with the wind. In comes Perry, liberal. I don't know who's replacing Barr. I don't know who they're going to use. I try to use one-word code words for people. Like Bannon, I gave him a name to. Bull. I gave him the name Bull. Because he was like a bull in a china shop. Whatever he touched broke. He pushed the Muslim ban, boom, backfired. He went too far, too fast in the wrong directions. And so maybe, he tried that out. That didn't work. So now he's going to try the other approach, the softer approach. It won't work anyway. What he doesn't know yet is that there's no winning with the vermin in the media. There is no winning with Soviet-style people in the media. There's no winning with Soviet-style politicos, Soviet-style BuzzFeeders. You're never going to change them. They're never going to like you, Mr. President. So stick to what got you where you are, Trump's war. Be our warrior, Mr. Trump. Don't give in to the progressive establishment. They will destroy you anyway. They will never like you. If you haven't learned that by now, you're going to learn it soon enough. So here's my next prediction. Because I told Inner Circle people, of my own Inner Circle, which is very small, I didn't think Bannon would last 3 months. And he went 3 months. I'm telling you, almost to the day. I said 3 months, he's out. He's too much. Too much. 3 months. I'm going to make another prediction. The next Inner Circle is going to last no more than 3 months. They're going to try the other side. Now they're going to try the liberal side. June 30th, watch, there's a change of a guard again. Changing of the guard again. July 1st, I may have another dessert. Because I am what I am. I mean, the thing is, he can trust me. I'm not an extremist in any way. My positions are very, very clear. I've written them. I don't change. I don't vary. You look at my writings going back to the beginning. My message has been the same. Borders, language, culture. Borders, language, culture. I didn't invent it in the last 3 months of the campaign to win favor with Donald Trump. These other people, we don't know where they were 20 years ago. We don't know where they were politically. We really don't know where they were, period, 20 years ago. He knows where I was 20 years ago. I was right here on the Savage Nation. Okay? 3 months. The next Inner Circle group goes in 3 months. You think Perry's going to last? I don't think so. Perry's going to come out as the open borders, George Bush type that he is. I don't think that's going to work. They're going to run that up the flagpole, so to speak. Not going to work. I don't know. That's a shocker, by the way, to replace Steve Bannon with Rick Perry. It's like from right to left right there. Strange choice. It's not even someone in the middle. Rick Perry is clearly a liberal. He's like a John McCain. Rick Perry is John McCain with a better delivery system. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee.
Because I'm back from the mountains, I got the hats, I'm playing country.
Where even squares can have a ball.
You get a whole different taste for America when you get out of Europe.
We still wave old
The way people look, they're so different outside of city-ish. You know what I mean? They don't look the same. Like the freak show here in San... I didn't see one person with green hair and a nipple ring on their nose. Not one. No one had rings on their face, and their nostrils, and their ears. Clean, beautiful people. Like America should be. What a beautiful country it is outside of the cities. God. So here's the news. Big news. Howard Beach lady is here. Terry on WABC. You were listening after all. So, are you there? Terry, are you there?
I always listen.
The question is this. Bannon is out. Barfly is out. Who are they going to... We know that Bannon was replaced with a liberal, Rick Perry. So it means they're moving to the left. So who are they going to replace, in your opinion, Barfly with?
I don't know. I've been praying her out. I've been praying Bannon out. I am also praying out Eddie Munster Ryan and Prius. And now,
wait. Why did you want Bannon? Why did you want Bannon out? You're like a hardcore conservative type.
Yes, I am. I never liked him from the beginning. Another thing, he's always looking unkempt, just like his friend, the Barfly.
Yeah, the unkempt is a giveaway. You know, it's one thing to be unkempt in your own home studio where no one sees you, but you're walking around in the White House with world leaders. Why are you looking rumpled up? What was that about?
I wish I could get in there and fix it.
No, but Terry, no. Listen to this. This is a very big story. The hygiene, the unkempt look. Donald Trump is fastidious. So is Mrs. Trump. They're immaculate. Why would they have someone around that always looked like he just rolled out of a bed?
Class. They have none. They have no class.
All right, so you thought that was a giveaway, the unkempt look?
Oh, this is disgusting.
All right, so who's he going to replace Barfly with? It has to be a woman to the left of her.
Oh, well.
Who? Think of it. Now, think about this one. He replaced Bannon with someone to the left of him, Rick Perry, in Open Borders. So now he's replaced Barfly, is no longer there. He hasn't fired her, but I don't see her. So who's he going to put in? Whatever she was, press advisor. I don't even know what she did. Does anyone know what she did? What was her job?
Looking like a pig.
Come on. She was not very good for the image of the presidency, but who will he replace her with is the question. I had suggested, you want me to tell you the truth? When I had a moment with the president, a couple of whatever, I suggested Laura Ingraham. I thought she'd be a great addition to the White House inner circle. I don't see them picking her up. She's a true conservative, you know that.
Wonderful. I love her.
She's classy. She's got the cross, but she really means it. I mean, there's a lot of people who wear crosses, but they don't mean it. There's like for like effect. Laura really believes it. I mean, she's a great person.
And she also does her nails. She always looks so nice.
You like my mother. That was a fast one. No, the nails are a giveaway. It's nothing wrong if you're a nail biter. But if you're coming out in public next to the president and you're a nail biter, you have to have an official fake nail person in the on your staff, who every time you make an appearance, they put fake nails on your hand, right?
The nails don't even have to be fake. They just have to be polished and looking nice. Your hands are very...
So why did her nails always look chewed?
I don't know. I guess because she chews her nails.
All right, that's okay. People chew nails. They get nervous. Doesn't mean they're bad people. Well, some have nice nails and they're monsters. But the issue is, if you're around the president in public, why would you not want to put on a set of fake nails on your hand every time and then throw them away at night? I don't get that part. All right, you're a good sport, Terry. I'm sending you a copy of Trump's Sword, probably the third copy you have. What'd you do with the other copies I gave you for free? Did they arrive yet?
I didn't get the first copy.
Oh, they didn't send it? Here's another one. Another one that won't arrive. Savage Nation, back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
Neil Gorsuch is fakely accused of plagiarism. It's like a bunch of garbage. Politico, as you well know, is a front group for the Democrat Party. Politico has no credibility whatsoever. It's run by Soviet-era hacks claiming that Neil Gorsuch committed plagiarism. This guy is so beyond them. The Lilliputians at Politico could not write a comma compared to Neil Gorsuch's dissertation. In fact, here's how bizarre this is. The idiots at Politico, the evil Soviet idiots, they're actually worse than Media Matters. Politico today is worse than Media Matters at its heyday. It says one example cited by Politico's John Bresnahan. Hey, John, I don't know where you came from, but you're a disgrace to the Bresnahan name. Your ancestors are rolling over in heaven. And Burgess Everett, you of Politico, if you have ancestors, if you weren't made in a factory, your ancestors are rolling over in their grave. They said that some passages in Neil Gorsuch's book, which was adapted from his Oxford University dissertation, seemed to be lifted from an article originally published in the Indiana Law Journal. Now, Gorsuch apparently cited the sources used by the article's author, Abigail Kuzma, while using her verbiage nearly word for word without crediting her. So they went to Miss Kuzma, and guess what she said? Miss Kuzma is now Indiana's Deputy Attorney General. She said, these passages are factual, not analytical in nature. It would have been awkward and difficult for Judge Gorsuch to have used different language. So the person they're claiming he stole it from is saying he didn't steal it. Listen, I have a real dissertation that's published in a real publication. And nobody at Politico has a real dissertation in anything other than propaganda. It's sickening. So, Neil Gorsuch, we could talk. No one even knows who he is. No one knows. I mean, they know he's going to win anyway. You know what I love about that one is that McCain goes crazy on the nuclear option. And listen to the sick. McCain is so senile and deranged. We know this. Listen to 06. You got to hear this.
Some people have tried to say that once this is done and detonated, the Senate will be a better place because it will this lingering fight.
I would like to meet that idiot. I would like to meet that numbskull that would say that after 200 years, at least 100 years of this tradition where the Senate has functioned pretty well, they think it'd be a good idea to blow it up. Whoever says that is a stupid idiot who has not been here and seen what I've been through and how we were able to avoid that on several occasions. And they're stupid and they've deceived their voters because they're so stupid.
How many times can Senator McCain say they're stupid without exhibiting the very same behavior he's talking about? The nuclear option, so-called, was invented and developed by none other than Harry Reid. And it's time the Republicans got a Harry Reid on their team. See, this is the missing part of the whole. You want to just talk Dem-Republican for a minute? The Republicans lack someone with the guts of Harry Reid. He's an he was an ex-pugilist, an ex-prize fighter. So far as I know, there's no one in the Republican Party who is as tough and as mean as Harry Reid. They need someone as mean as a reptile on their team in order to do these things, in order to win. They can't have these milquetoasts out there and expect to win a battle. They're in a fight for the life of America. So, yeah, we need the nuclear option, and Gorsuch must be appointed, and then 3 more Supreme Court justices, and you know what? The rest is gravy. It's that simple. If we get 4 justices appointed by President Trump, the rest is gravy as far as I'm concerned. It's as simple as that. That's all. Next one. Vicious left uses Soviets at Politico and BuzzFeed to attack Gorsuch. Next one. This is a tough one for me because many of you are firemen and cops. And you know I support firemen and cops. Somewhat. Not categorically, but let's say generally. So today's New York Post has an article showing former city cops fishing, sailing, working out. These guys claim that they were unable to work due to mental illnesses, including post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression. Many falsely said they suffered the psychiatric ailments after searching for victims at Ground Zero. Okay? Leading authorities to blast them for dishonoring and disgracing first responders who died in the September 11th terror attacks. But using online photos that showed the crooked cops and firemen who each pilfered around $30,000 to $50,000 a year, some for 15 years, for example, Ex-NYPD cop Glenn Lieberman, who's claimed to have assisted at Ground Zero or is revealed as a lie, posed for a picture while seated on a Sea-Doo while he was collecting disability payments. Then there's another one. Ex-cop Richard Constantino posted a Facebook photo of the genius that showed him with his mouth agape while gripping an enormous sailfish during a fishing trip to Costa Rica, also accepting disability payments. In 2015, he pled guilty to second-degree grand larceny in exchange for a conditional discharge and in order to pay $207,000 in restitution. So, cops and firemen caught on disability pension scams. Here's the question of the day, a secondary question. Any pension scammers you know of? I know a lot of people get agitated over this. Any pension scammers you know of, not limited to cops and firemen. Plenty of them out there. Countries filled with deadbeats. Pope peddles fake climate scare, attacks Trump and reason. My headline. Will Islam dominate the world in 40 years? I have the data. University hosts masculinity confession booth, instructing male students to repent and apologize for their masculinity. I will have more about the war on boys and what we must do about it. U.S. Department of Education indoctrinates students into Islam. This is a great story, how your government has been penetrated by the Muslim Brotherhood, and more specifically the Muslim Sisterhood. They're now using women to peddle Islamism under the guise of religious freedom. And we're going to compare and contrast Christianity with Islam and tell you the danger we are in if we do not stop this. Now, this is a very sensitive one. I read this morning in the Washington Post that a Holocaust survivor went in front of an audience on immigration and attacked a sheriff, Scott Jones, for rounding up illegal aliens and deporting them if they were on watch lists. So the Holocaust survivor, a genuine one, a real one, stood up and said, "You stand there, Mr. Jones, don't forget, history is not on your side. You shouldn't be deporting families and loved ones." And he gives his horribly heartbreaking story of his time in Poland when the Nazis came and rounded him up and his parents. And I said to myself, how does the Holocaust experience differ from today's deportations in the U.S.? It's a very delicate issue because I don't want to be thrown into the group that says the Holocaust didn't exist. Of course it existed. 6 million Jews were mercilessly killed by the Nazis, as were 9 million non-Jews, by the way. Again, it's a fact of reality written by a great Jewish historian. So a lot of people were killed during the Holocaust, and they included Jews, 6 million Jews, and then let's never forget that. But there's a huge difference in what was done in Poland and Germany and Hungary and Bulgaria and all the countries of Europe by the Nazis in rounding up Jews and what Trump is doing in rounding up illegal aliens who have committed crimes. They're not the same thing. And here is the problem, and it's a very heartbreaking thing for me to have to say, and I hope you interpret this correctly, because I will defend my statement. People who lived through the Holocaust were so severely psychologically damaged by it that they see the entire world through the lens of the Holocaust. And so every time they hear about immigration, right away they assign that to the historical experience that they lived through, and they think that the Mexicans, El Salvadorans, Nicaraguans, even gang members, are like the Jews in Poland in the 1930s. And so in their speaking out against Donald Trump's desire to crack down on illegal aliens, they're not doing themselves or us a favor. They're not doing us a service at all. And that's my opinion. And, of course, we know what's going on in Washington, which is turmoil. The fog is lifting from Foggy Bottom, and Steve Bannon has lost his power. He is out, and guess who's in? Rick Perry. Now, that tells you everything you need to know. It doesn't matter which side you are on. The fact is, Rick Perry is an open borders Bush guy. So it seems to me that the conservative wing of the Bush administration has been, let us put it this way, sidelined for the moment. And the liberal wing of the Trump camp has now ascended to the power that they've always wanted. Rick Perry is clearly an open borders man. In fact, Rick Perry on Donald Trump's borders wall last July said it's never going to happen. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry might have given Donald Trump a full-throated endorsement for president, but the Texas Tribune reported back in July he is not fond of the presumptive Republican nominee's plan to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexican border. In an exchange posted with Snapchat's somebody on the social network's political show, that's where Rick Perry went, on a Snapchat radio show. He wouldn't come on this show. Wouldn't come on this show for years. Well, he's now national security advisor. He said, no, I'm for Donald Trump, and he says we're going to build a wall. The Mexicans are going to pay for it, he said. Well, it's not, Perry agreed with the host. It's not going to happen. Perry has long been a critic of building a wall or fence along the border. In 2011, during his first failed run for president, he called for strategic fencing along parts of the border. He said, if you build a 30-foot wall from El Paso to Brownsville, the 35-foot ladder business gets real good. So, my friends, the fog is lifting, and we don't know where it's going to end up, nor how long Rick Perry will last in the NSC position. But we do know that Steve Bannon is out. And as your secretary, Rick Perry was added to the National Security Council, reinstating the head of the Energy Department to the council after removing him in February. Steve Bannon gone. Wow, this is a big one. Big deal. Trump boots Bannon from NSC. Is it good or bad? What do you think he'll do next? He's also shifted on Syria. Why, just last week he was for Assad. Now this week he's against Assad. He said it all changed with the use of the poisonous gas against innocent civilians. Russians claim that it was not the Syrians who unleashed the toxic gas on the Syrian civilian population, but it was the so-called U.S.-backed rebels. It's the same story all over again. How do we really know who released this toxic gas? And I don't know what the gas is. It's sarin gas? Who did it? Do we know who did it? Will we ever know who did it? During today's press conference between the president and the president of the king of Jordan, King Abdullah, who's a very educated man, he said, Syria's civil war has gone on for 7 years, said Abdullah. And he said it has descended into proxy wars with dubious agendas. Proxy wars with dubious agendas. We don't know whose side we're on anymore. Iran is with Assad. We're against Iran, so therefore we're against Assad. Which side is Russia on? Which side are we on? Which side is Israel on? Why is Israel not even involved in this war? Why has Israel not fired a shot in the Syrian civil war? Why have we never seen one airplane from the Israel Defense Forces ever fire a missile at an ISIS truck? Does anyone have an answer to any of these questions? I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
%, say Clinton should be part of Russia probe. No one cares. Trump bump, 46% approve. Mideast peace process. The big thing is the Bannon, but no one's calling about it. I see what it is. You probably do too, and there's nothing to say about it. So McConnell is saying Gorsuch will be confirmed this week. That's good that McConnell's going to pull the nuclear option. That's all I can say. And I think it's a done deal because even the Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, Pocahontas is saying if the GOP jams through Gorsuch, they'll own every extreme decision. And then what? You know, they act as though they don't have any extremists on the bench, right? Like they didn't give us Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who had been the head of the ACLU legal department. You hear this? Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the most radical extremist in the history of the U.S. Supreme Court. You know that old witch on the Supreme Court with the looks like she has not a broomstick to fear, that she has a closet filled with broomsticks from every place on earth? That mean, nasty left-wing fanatic, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was the former head of the ACLU legal department. That's not an extremist? So now they put a moderate on. They want to put Gorsuch on. By any stretch of the imagination, he's not an extremist. He is a centrist. He is a constitutionalist. He's now an extremist to the fanatics on the left. So she's saying, if we jam through Gorsuch, they'll own every... Here is clip 9 with Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren.
Republicans have a choice. They can tell President Trump to send a new nominee, A Main Street nominee
Get
who
off
can
it.
earn broad support. Or
Please.
they can jam through this nominee. If they do jam through Judge Gorsuch, the Republicans will own the Gorsuch court. And every extreme 5-4 decision that comes out of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, you knocked the other one off your team. You sent them down to the border hotel there. They never came back. He took a one-way trip. Took a one-way trip to southern Texas to the border hotel, never came back. So that's it. That's the good thing. That's the good thing. They should jam it through like the left is jamming things through our whole life. Bannon loses power in White House shakeup. No one knows who he is. See, the average American out there just came for... This is the problem is if you do talk radio in your studio all the time, you don't see what goes on outside your studio. Most people do not care about these issues. Do you know that? I mean, we read the Drudge Report. We obsessed with the news. But that's the average American isn't. They don't care. They don't even care. They're running their lives. They could care less about all this crap. Speaking of which, you know, I'm going to say it. I know you don't want to hear it, but I'll say it again. Trump's war was everywhere I went. Every Barnes & Noble, every big bookstore I stopped in, there it was. And I don't mean all 10 copies that they order, like it was down to 2. They're selling. Salt Lake City Barnes & Noble, I have a picture of me. There it is. I actually signed the books in the Salt Lake City Barnes & Noble. The book is selling like crazy. It outsold Donald Trump's own book. Did you hear that story? How could this little radio show outsell the president's Trump book? I mean, Trump's war outsold the president's Making America Great Again book. Why? Because apparently the truth sells. The truth sells. They hear the plain truth with me. They may not like it. They may not agree with a lot of what I say or everything I say, but they feel they're listening to a guy who's telling them, calling him like he sees it, which I am. What's real is what's important in this world, not the illusion.
Savage.